Step through the gilded doors and the illusion shatters almost instantly. Candles flare. Jewels murmur. Silk sighs as it moves. And then the smell hits. Thick perfume battling something sour, raw, unmistakably human. The fairy tale snaps in half. This was never a Disney court. It was a world where crowns glittered above unwashed scalps, where power ruled halls heavy with sweat, powder, and rot. Queens shaped nations while their own skin burned beneath poisonous cosmetics. Ladies curtsied in gowns concealing accidents no one dared acknowledge. Elegance was never clean. It was a disguise. Today we're tearing back the velvet curtain to expose the 9 most disturbing hygiene practices of royal women. From lethal beauty rituals to palaces that doubled as open sewers. Shocking. It's repulsive. And once you hear it, you won't forget it. Picture this. It's the year 1580, and you're a weary servant in the court of Queen Elizabeth I. The task you dread most has arrived. It's time to prepare Her Majesty's bath. Yes, her monthly bath. The ruler of England stepped into hot water just once every 4 weeks, and even that was considered dangerously excessive by her physicians. Servants worked through the night, hauling steaming buckets up narrow staircases to fill a wooden tub lined with linen. But the true horror wasn't the water. It was what dissolved into it. Elizabeth coated her skin daily with Venetian ceruse, a deadly paste of white lead and vinegar. She never removed the previous layer. When she finally disrobed and sank into the bath, the mask melted away like peeling paint from a decaying wall. White flakes of lead, weeks of sweat, and layers of grime swirled together into a foul soup that made attendants gag. The stench, metallic, acidic, and sickly sweet, clung to the air. And Elizabeth wasn't alone. Marie Antoinette treated bathing as performance art. She reclined in the tub wearing a linen gown, nibbling pastries while courtiers chatted politely around her, all as she soaked in weeks of accumulated filth. Behind the grandeur lay a brutal truth. These women ruled empires while battling constant itching, hair loss, infections, and the slow poison of their own beauty rituals. Step closer into Elizabeth's private chambers and the illusion collapses entirely. Her face wasn't simply pale. It was entombed beneath a ghostly mask. Every morning, her ladies layered fresh Venetian ceruse directly over the cracked remains of yesterday's paint. Washing with water was considered dangerous, so the poison thickened day after day. Lead seeped into her bloodstream, corroding her mind and body. Her moods grew volatile. Her memory faltered. Her teeth blackened and rotted. Courtiers whispered of madness and paranoia, never realizing it was poison, not power, consuming her from within. Her hair fell out in clumps, forcing her into towering wigs so heavy they strained her neck. Her skin sagged and grayed, demanding ever more paint to hide the damage. And the smell, sharp, metallic, sour, became infamous. Those who addressed the queen learned to stand at a precise distance, close enough to hear her commands, far enough not to retch. This was no longer beauty. It was dependency. A slow suicide ritual performed in the name of fashion and authority. Across Europe, noble women chased the same deadly perfection. Venetian ceruse cracked and peeled like a painted wall, poisoning bloodstreams and warping minds. Hair fell out. Gums decayed. Breath turned rancid. Yet they applied more. Physicians warned them. It didn't matter. Fashion demanded flawlessness. And flawlessness demanded poison. For many queens, the mask of beauty eventually became a death mask. With thousands of unwashed bodies crammed into palaces like Versailles, the air grew unbearable. Perfume wasn't luxury, it was survival. Women carried scented sachets pressed to their noses. Gloves were soaked in oils. Jewelry concealed waxes and resins designed to release fragrance with body heat. But these weren't gentle floral scents. They were brutal concoctions of musk, civet, and ambergris, animal secretions so powerful they could overwhelm the senses. Applied over filthy skin, they mixed with sweat, rotting teeth, and infected wounds, creating odors worse than what they tried to hide. The palace atmosphere became a choking fog of sickness and sweetness, beauty rotting in real time. One of the most disturbing positions in any royal court was the groom of the stool. The man assigned to attend the king's toilet. Degrading? Yes. Powerful? Absolutely. Kneeling behind an unwashed monarch, wiping him clean with cloth, sometimes bare hands, while breathing air thick with decay, the groom discussed affairs of state. Wars were planned. Treaties decided. Lives condemned. Royal dignity, it turns out, rested squarely on someone else's humiliation. In Spain, cleanliness itself became dangerous. Queen Isabella and the Inquisition branded bathing sinful, associating it with Islam and moral corruption. Public baths were destroyed. Soap was banned. Appearing too clean could mark you as a heretic, punishable by death. Indigenous peoples of the Americas, known for daily bathing rituals, were forced to abandon their traditions after conquest. Disease tore through their communities while priests preached filth as godliness. Across Spain and its empire, dirt wasn't just accepted, it was sacred. Countess Palatine of Hanover believed milk baths could soothe her diseased skin. Suffering from a venereal infection, her open sores oozed into the liquid as she soaked. When she finished, she ordered the milk distributed to the poor. To starving peasants, it seemed like mercy. In reality, it was a sentence. They drank disease disguised as charity. This grotesque blend of generosity and cruelty revealed just how disconnected nobility had become from human suffering. The towering hairstyles of noble women weren't fashion statements. They were biological disasters. Built from animal fat, powders, and wire, they became breeding grounds for lice, fleas, and maggots. These styles stayed intact for weeks. Jeweled scratching sticks offered momentary relief, but scalp infections, bald patches, and unbearable odors followed for life. Yet the higher the hair, the greater the status. So they endured, even as parasites turned their heads into living nests. And finally, the greatest hygiene catastrophe of them all, Versailles. Louis XIV, the Sun King, packed over 10,000 nobles, servants, and soldiers into his palace, with almost no functioning toilets. Waste was dumped from windows. Corridors reeked of urine. Excrement seeped through ceilings into kitchens and bedrooms. Children played among puddles of human waste. Visitors fainted during audiences from the stench alone. This jewel of France, this symbol of refinement, was one of the filthiest places in Europe. Versailles wasn't a palace. It was a sewer wrapped in gold. So the next time you imagine queens in shimmering gowns and radiant crowns, remember the truth behind the spectacle. These women lived in systems that prized appearance over health, poison over cleanliness, and splendor over dignity. They ruled nations while battling lice, poisoning their bodies, and breathing air thick with rot. Royalty lived in splendor, but behind the curtains, it was a life of discomfort, disease, and unimaginable filth.